So here we are again, back by legitimately unpopular demand. Hello,
Hello. How are you?
I'm pretty good.
Yeah?
So tonight we're going to make some of you deeply uncomfortable, more uncomfortable than we're going to get,
Oh, yeah.
because we're going to do a song that we both love, that is about things that fathers and daughters apparently are not supposed to talk about.
And we saw it enacted live. Remember that.
In
If this
London.
makes you feel uncomfortable, we saw it enacted live together.
Yeah. Well, no. We we didn't see people in a car.
No, but we saw the musical of what
Yeah.
we're about to see.
Quite different. We didn't go dogging.
That's possible in London, I'll be honest.
So here we go. Let's take a look at Paradise. Clicking that off. Let's take a look at Meatloaf. Paradise by the Dashboard Light.
Such a good track. And look at him. Look at him.
Don't call him Meatloaf for nothing.
No, just the sass. So it, look at him.
So, Jim Steinman. I mean, I'm on record after Jim died. I think his writing is fantastic. It's Americana. It's every American movie you've ever seen, right?
Yeah, it reads like prose, and that's what I enjoy. Because prose is very much about sort of that getting a little bit of a window into the inside voice, but also telling the story.
But parking by the lake. All these. We've seen all these images. He set out to write the ultimate make out in a car song.
Yeah.
And he painted the ultimate picture. I just want a special mention to "We're glowing like the metal on the edge of a knife."
Yeah.
I mean, that alone should make this song absolutely famous. We were glowing like the metal on the edge of a knife. The beauty of that little line of silver, but also the
danger of it.
the danger of it. I mean, that's an amazing line.
But it's also, knives are in a weird way sexy, but also quite brutal. And if we were to let me go on my poetry brain, we'd love it. And the wonderful thing about this song is it's painting such a wonderful picture in your head. And if you have had the wonderful privilege of seeing the
I
musical,
thought you were going somewhere completely different then.
no,
Okay.
I have boundaries. But if you've seen the musical, the way that they frame this song within the narrative, and also mainly the thing that really left an impact on me was the performance of the actors, because it was framed within being in the narrative of a couple who had been married for quite some years and had gotten to the...
Oh, yeah, that's right. They did.
And they were a little bit bored of each other.
Yeah.
And then this was the moment where they kind of rekindled a little bit of that passion.
I'd forgotten that.
And it was them and this beautiful set piece of a car. And it was with a guy...
They crash during the stage play, they crash the car into the orchestra pit, right?
Yes. Which I think they do at the end of this scene, because the car's
Was it the end or was it midway through the...
No, it was the end of this scene and the end of this track. But they had a guy with a full-on camera that was connected up to a projection.
Screens, yeah.
And he was there as the press guy, as these two individuals were just having so much fun. And it was a moment in theatre where you could see the actors, and the two actors were just, this was them having absolute fun. This was the moment in rehearsals where the kids were pushed out of the rehearsal room and these two adult actors in the class could A, show their talent, but B, have fun. and push a line as well.
What you say that's interesting to me, I've read a lot of the stuff about Jim Steinman since he died, a lot of the interviews. And the thing that a lot of them have gone on to say is he never took himself in some ways he took himself very seriously, the bombastic nature, the sort of epic stuff, but he was always about fun. I don't know if you watched it, I did For Crying Out Loud, You Know I Love You. And there's that line, and can't you see my faded Levi's bursting apart? And I even said, surely Jim's not doing a boner joke. And then somebody said to me in the answers on a postcard, no, he was doing a boner joke. He in fact talked about how it was one of his favorite lines because it was a boner joke.
Yeah.
And I went and I found the interview where he said he loved that line because it was in the middle of this epic song. It was a boner joke. You know?
But it doesn't surprise me because this is writing about a very naughty, very impulsive time that most people, I think, can relate to. Not necessarily the actual happenings of this track, but the impulses and that fantasy,
that teenage
angsty.
Just want to do it.
That's sneaking
never done it.
around.
I've never done it. I want to do it.
But that even if it's just making out with somebody, that's sneaking around in
Which you've never done.
No,
Right. Of course not.
never. Why would I?
Not till you're married.
Not even then.
I'm liking that. Shall we remember that we're listening to a song?
Yeah.
Hold on.
What? I'll make that.
Hold on tight to what? I mean, come on.
I'm not touching that.
What a voice. Although it wasn't her.
No.
She was lip syncing to another lady's vocals.
And what a wonderful little. Nice symmetry.
So okay, we gotta mention See Paradise by the Dashboard Light.
Just it's a wonderful.
It's
such a wonderful grounding. I love that line.
It's an amazing line, and then ain't no doubt about it, we were doubly blessed because we were barely 17 and we were barely dressed.
It's the symmetry in the
It's
writing.
wonderful.
It's wonderful poetry. And the thing that I really like the line, I can see paradise by the dashboard light, because I do a lot of long distance driving and I love driving. And the number of times I've looked out and kind of gone, I can see paradise by the dashboard light, meaning I'm looking out and seeing these wonderful landscapes or these wonderful cities, or, you know, and it always brings me back to that little jive, and then I remember what the song's about.
I was going to say, you're so wonderfully sweet, thinking about the late night drive and the glow of the dashboard, as opposed to the paradise he was seeing by the dashboard light was
not a man.
Was encompassed. Well, bearing in mind, and we're going to get into this, there's two people in this in this act.
It takes two to tango.
There's two people seeing paradise. One of them is having to see paradise in the form of Meatloaf. Ugh. But the other one, not so much.
No, don't confidence is sexy, and look at him go.
He does strut his stuff.
Look at him.
He
Lovely.
Look at him.
I have to just spend a moment appreciating Meatloaf's voice
Oh,
and just the power and the passion and the fun and the joy that you're getting just out of like that. Come on.
there's effectively there's an argument that says that he was never better than this album. By the end of the tour for this album, which I think lasted for 2 years, he had murdered,
Destroyed
he had
it
ripped
himself.
his voice to pieces. It took him a long time to get to the point that he could make the second Bat album with
Yeah.
Jim, and there is an argument that says his voice was never quite as unbelievable as on this album. It's amazing that we've got it, but because he gave every single. I watched a documentary after Jim died of the tour that he did. I think it was in 2007. And there's this amazing shot where you see him go from performing on stage right at the start of the documentary. You see him performing on stage, and you see him walk off stage, and you see him age as he walks off stage. You see him walk into his dressing room and collapse on the floor. Even back here at this point, he was known to be taking oxygen at the end of a performance. He left everything on the field. He held back nothing, and he tore his voice to shreds.
Which is the addiction. If you've ever performed, I know and you've seen some of my shows where it's been physically taxing and you can see it on stage. And it's the most rewarding thing to know that you've gone and given these strangers absolutely everything.
So
is the fun.
The start of this verse, baby, don't you hear my heart? You got it drowning out the radio. I mean,
it so captures that young excitement.
I've been waiting so long for you to come along and have some fun. You're not going to regret it. Open up your. I mean, this is bonus stuff. I got a big surprise. It'll feel all right. I want to make your motor run. So he brings it back to Paradise by the Dashboard Light. He brings it back to what he set out to do. The car
Metaphor.
The epic car sex.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's just such. As I've always said, it's such Americana. Steinman wrote Americana. He wrote the vision of America, 1950s, 1960s America, that we all kind of grew up
and yearn for, I think.
Yearning for. Yearn is a. Yeah.
I'm not even in the juiciest part of this track. My favourite part is a long time away.
Sang every word that night in London.
I know, we really irritated everybody around us. It's fantastic. This is what the West End is for.
Yeah.
His range!
You've got to do what you can. Great line.
I love it.
And then the break.
Which, in the stage show, they did amazing.
Blue balls. It's coming. We're going to get to it. So let's freak everybody out. Car sex. Yes, no.
Depends what car.
No. Not would you? Have you?
Are you asking me this?
Yeah.
Yes, of course I have. I've been a teenager.
And
Depends what car.
I made one attempt
Really?
behind Hammersley's in 80 in the late 80s, and I can report that a Toyota SE, not an appropriate place. It was not going to happen. No.
Okay,
We went back to the flat.
I'm saying this not to freak you guys out, but to freak my dad out. So I own now your
MX5.
MX5. It's mine.
Yeah, but come on. Really?
The biggest regret is it doesn't have
You can't,
a back seat.
It has nothing.
But it also doesn't recline backwards. There's no way.
No, the MX5. What was?
It is the greatest way for you to, as a father, stop that from happening.
But wait a minute. What was the line? I think this was in a Dudley Moore film. I can't remember the name of the film offhand. It was about advertising. It was very funny. And the one advertising line they came up with, Porsche, you can't get laid in it, but when you get out. So here we go. Here we go. We got a real pressure cooker going here. 2 down, nobody on, and it's a light shot up the middle.
Put in the comment section whether that bit was fun to you.
Deeply uncomfortable.
What a great way to metaphor.
The bass's metaphor. It's astonishing.
It's genius.
This wasn't a real baseball commentary, by the way.
No, of course it wasn't.
This was a famous guy. A very famous American baseball commentator. They put him in the booth. They said,
"Say these
This
lines.
is what we're looking. No. This is what we're looking for. Do it." And he improv'd it. He riffed it. This is just a baseball commentator doing what baseball commentators do.
Oh wow!
Isn't that awesome?
And I do love how in the stage show they genuinely had some fun with this moment, but pushed that line with the audience to kind of go like, are we going to make you uncomfortable? Are we? Or we're just having fun.
Almost daring to try and pick him off. Never watched a baseball game, by the way.
Really? Oh, it's that word. Will you never leave me? Will you make me so happy for the rest of my life? Will you take me away? Or will you make me away? Do you love me? Will you love me forever? Do you need me? Will you never leave me? Will you make me so happy for the rest of my life? Will you take me away? Will you make me away? I gotta know right now. Before we go any further, do you love me? Will you love me forever? No, keep that moment, keep that moment.
Come on, this is the Jim Steinman. This is Jim Steinman, the teenage boy writes the teenage boy's impression of the teenage girl, right? Right up to the moment of, and then stop, and then you got to love me forever. Or we. I mean, it's brilliant.
Wait. So are you saying that you think that this is the male's assumption of what she's believing?
No. This is Steinman writing that sort of heightened perception of the not to put too fine a point on it, the cock tease.
No, because that's not it at all how I read it.
Okay, go on.
So there is, okay, maybe I'm making a few assumptions and a few generalizations, is that especially at this age, or at least with genders in general, in gender stereotyping, men find sex as sex, right?
Yeah.
And it's quite easy and fluid, and it can mean nothing. I feel easier than it can for women in the stereotype.
Yeah.
But women, especially when you're young, when you're barely 17,
and barely dressed,
everything has got the onus of, is this the one? It's so, the social pressure of what sex is meant to mean is so destructive to begin with. That's a different argument. But this idea that, do you love me? But not only do you love me for the now, do you love me forever?
I guess that's what I'm saying, is that I find this is Steinman taking it to the nth degree.
No, it's not. It's not, because I remember having these conversations not only with other girls my age at that age, discussing this of like, oh, but you have to know that you're going to marry them. You have to know that they're going to be there forever because XYZ. And I remember having those feelings of like, no, it's got to be the one. It's got to be the one. It's got to
be forever. Otherwise,
it's forever or nothing. You know, which so it works out for some people, but you're very different when you're 16 to when you're any other age, and you do a lot of changing, and sometimes that works for people. But it's I don't see this as any kind of hyperbole.
You think it's just on the money?
That's on the money for a lot of people, not for everybody, but I think it speaks more to the different perspectives and different approaches to sex that the genders have in general. And because sex is at least meant to mean something more and different to females.
I mean, you're absolutely right, because my you're about to get the "let me sleep on it," which when I was 14 always translated in my head to "let me sleep on you," and I'll tell you in the morning, right? I mean,
okay,
that is the male thing, is "let me sleep on you." Let's do it now, and we'll put a pin in. We'll put a pin in this future thing, but let's just.
Can we have this conversation later?
Can we have this conversation after we've had the?
Yeah.
Look at him. The brooding loaf.
Let me sleep on it. Baby, baby, let me sleep on it. Let me sleep on it. I'll give you an answer in the morning. Let me sleep on it. Baby, baby, let me sleep on it. Let me sleep on it. I'll give you an answer in the morning. Let me sleep on it.
His performance is astonishing.
Yeah.
Let me sleep on it.
He's begging.
Let me sleep on it. I'll give you an answer in the morning.
I gotta know right now, do you love me? Will you love me forever? Do you need me? Will you never leave me? Will you make me so happy for the rest of my life? Will you take me away? Will you make me your wife? I gotta know right now. Before we go any further, do you love me? Will you love me forever?
There's also something about the repetition, right? He uses repetition a lot, and repetition in itself is a rhetorical device.
But it's also, so a couple of points. It's on that point, it's also a very classic technique used within musicals. Think about Hamilton. Hamilton is the perfect example because Lin-Manuel loves doing this. Within musicals, you have the first instance of a line or of a thought, right? You repeat it, but that meaning changes and develops as you go along. It's in good writing, but it is a staple of musicals.
Steinman's always repurposed lines,
Yes.
and had the line evolve. But I'm saying that the physical, in the moment repetition is a very rhetorical device.
Yes, it is. But it's also, and it's just struck me as well, how much this moment stands for that level of going, no, this is my boundary. And it's a good example of going, because unfortunately, a lot of people at that age will just kind of go with it and then regret it. And then,
You've started, so you'll finish,
but no, not even you've started, so you'll finish. Just that you don't know how to say no. You don't know how to interrupt. You don't know how to sit there and go, wait, because that's quite a strong thing to do. And it's the trope that everybody wants to forget their first time because it was so terrible. And unfortunately, a lot of the motive behind that is not just it was terrible sex, but there's also probably just so much other connotation due to the emotion, because you're a bag of emotions at that age. And so you but this is a wonderful example to sit there and go, actually, I admire this woman.
Yeah.
Because she's turned around and gone, I know what I need. I know what my boundaries are. And if you're going to...
I'm saying in the repetition, you should use the word, the repetition helps to build the
Tension.
emotional tension. And objects in the rearview mirror, he does it. I will do anything for love, he does it.
Yeah.
He's great at recognizing that if you repeat it enough, it's almost like that comic thing of the comedians that will repeat a line to the point that
Yeah.
it's irritating, and then it's building tension, and then it's
And
brilliant.
then it's brilliant. Yeah.
And Steinman does that
I-
in his music, in his writing.
I haven't listened to it close enough to know if, just from a musicality point of view, I feel like my instinct would say that with every repetition, they're also pitching up.
Yes, he builds on it.
That,
He does.
that from a musical point, he's backing up that tension and facilitating one and the other through doing that.
There's a growing urgency.
Yeah.
There's various tricks, but there's a growing urgency in the way he.
Yeah.
And again, that's a trick he uses. He'll take a line, he'll say it, and then repeat it. And with each iteration, with each revisit, it grows in.
What's it gonna be, boy? Come on. I can wait all night.
His
What's
face.
it gonna be, boy? Yes or no? What's it gonna be, boy? Yes or
I like the use of boy.
Let me sleep on it. Baby, baby, let me sleep on it. Well, let me sleep on it. I'll get on out in the morning.
I gotta know right now. Do you love me?
And then, of course, they're using the classical musical
Yeah.
thing. It's very theatrical. It's wonderful. I love it.
Before we go any further, do you love me?
He's amazing.
Will you love me forever?
Let me sleep on it.
Will you love me forever?
Let me sleep on it.
Will you love me forever?
I couldn't take it any longer. I was crazy when the feeling came up on me like a tidal wave. Started swearing to my God and on my mother's grave that I would love you till the end of time. I swore I would love you till the end of
Don't-
time. So now I'm praying for the end of time.
So in a way, it's a Shaggy dog
It's
punchline,
it's
right?
Wonderful.
I swear I'll love you till the end of time. Now I'm praying for the end of time.
But it's also, it's a song that throughout, and it's a long song, and throughout it, it's written in the present tense. It's written in the present tense.
Oh, yeah.
And so you think that you're hearing this story from as the narrative goes ahead, but actually you're being told this story from
past tense.
In the past tense. You're being told it as a reminiscing moment, as exactly what they did in the theatre show, where it was these two characters were almost rekindling their love through remembering this first time, and he messes with you in that way.
So I'm going to say it is a punchline. It is a Shaggy Dog story. It is a bit of a joke ending, but, and we're going to enjoy it again for a minute. I've got a semi-controversial theory
Okay.
that
Before you go, I do have to point out, so for anybody who doesn't know, I've got a theatre background and also a performance background. And I have to say, just on a compliment of the writing, is that every so often you will find a track, you will find a thing where, as a performer, you would love every minute of performing it. And there are so many twists and turns, and there is so much to play with outside and around these lyrics that I'm not a singer, I'm not a musical theatre performer, but I'd give it a go just to have
Just to
this
do that,
fun
yeah.
because it's this wonderful relationship dynamic that you get to play with, and it's sitting in that sweet spot of talking about something that is serious, but also it's tongue-in-cheek, it's a little bit
over the top.
it's over the top, it's playing with it, and it's this dialogue that is wonderful. You know, you get that dialogue where everybody wants to do Aaron Sorkin, everybody wants to do, to a point, Shakespeare, if you aren't scared of Shakespeare. Everybody wants to do certain written bits.
This is one of
This
those.
is one of them.
Yeah, this is. So wait a minute. This is Hamlet. This is to be or not to be of bombastic rock. This
You
is
know
the to
what?
be or not to be of bombastic rock.
In probably not the to be or not to be. I'll find a Shakespearean simile in a bit, when my brain's not just like, I just want to hear the punchline again.
Let's hear the punchline again, then I've got a theory.
Okay.
To my God and my mother's grave.
I like that it's both of them as well.
Yeah.
Which is so sweet.
So, my theory, or at least my controversial thing, and it might not be because of the way you responded. I always saw this as kind of in its own way an epic love story. And in its own way, Steinman's idea of what is honor and what true love is and what true epic love stories are, because as much as he's saying, praying for the end of time to hurry up and arrive, because if I got to spend another minute, but he says, I'll never break my promise. I'll never forget my vows. In the same as I'll do anything for love, but I won't do that. He's saying, I told you I would, and he didn't just say I'll stay with you till the end of time. He didn't just say I'll tolerate you for the end of time. He said that his vow was I will love you till the end of time. And so you've got this weird. They always played at the end of the stage show. They played the sort of angry couple screaming at each other. But I still choose, and we get into it was long ago, it was far away, so much better than it is today. While he's remembering how far away it was, she's remembering how great it was. But ultimately, I'll never break my promise or forget my vows. Mm-hmm. I'm praying for the end of time because I'm not going to leave. I can't break the promise. I won't break the promise. I will love you till the end of time, and thank God when the end of time comes. I think it's still an epic love story.
I think you've opened up a can of worms.
But it's...
No, I agree with you. And in classic Jem way, I am able to quite comfortably hold two conflicting opinions at the same time. I see that as well. I think it is this wonderful thing to keep a promise, and a wonderful thing that this is the vow. And I think it's a very human story, because even with your best mates, if you have spent a lifetime with somebody, you are also comfortable enough with them to not ignore some of the things that make you want to kill them.
I love you, but I could cheerfully kill you right now. Yeah.
Yeah, and it speaks to that idea of, exactly how I am like with my brother, where no, but I will obliterate anybody who touches him because I'm the only one who's allowed to kill him. And it's that mentality. And it's that level of deep love that I think you can get with somebody where you still have these moments of remembering the good times, because they've both remembered it. It's not from the perspective of just him. It's not they've both sat there and they've both been talking about this moment. And then almost in that jokily, but not jokily way, saying, yeah, I'd kill you.
They are.
And then that thing of like, this is how I would do it. But at the same time,
they are trapped together. They are locked together in this relationship because they made a promise, but they are keeping it.
Yes. At the same time,
there's honor
there is a lot of honor in there, but it does open the can of worms of, if you're making each other miserable, is that love? Or is love letting them go and be happy?
That's way more complicated than this song.
Way more and I think that then brings up the question of like, are they actually miserable, or are they as in the video, they're both enjoying this. And the song within its language, within its melody, within everything about it, it is that jolly old let's go for a skip down memory lane. And, you know, there is amongst some of the people who I have seen turn around and go, oh, I could kill you. You can see that they are the people who love each other the most in a weird way.
Is it Fairy Tale of New York?
Yeah.
It's Fairy Tale of New York in a way.
Yeah.
It's that sort of list all the things that are terrible about you, but in a way that lets me know that you.
It's like, I can't live with you, can't live without you. It's that. It's also that thing of like, I could kill you, but I'm not going to, because then what? You know, you are the person who would help me bury the body, but if you're the body, no, it is. It's. But I think it brings up that thought within, if you are paying attention to the lyrics, and how can you not? Because it's such a wonderful story. It does bring up those questions of like, okay, well, relationships are hard. A relationship is incredibly complicated, and there is a certain joy in knowing that somebody has the ability to aggravate the shit out of you, but you will still be there at the end of the day, because you know what? Your love is greater than your desire to murder the person.
In my simplistic soul.
I'm not a simplistic soul.
In my in some ways I really am. In my simplistic soul, I made a promise and I'm keeping it. I made a commitment and I'm keeping it. And if nothing else, that must have been part of the coding of the 12, 13-year-old Paul.
Well, I don't,
because I still live by in my own way that I've made a commitment, I've made a promise, I'm going to keep it even at cost to myself.
see, it must be hereditary then, because I am exactly the same. But don't tell anybody. I am exactly the same.
Nobody's watching.
Nobody's watching.
No one. Literally no one. Not even us.
I've gotten this far. We quit right back at when Dad asked me about car sex. That's when it was like, you know what? This is on the internet
What's
now.
wrong with these people? That's disgraceful. That's disgusting. Dear you, what is wrong with you?
Is this a healthy relationship? This is the question of the whole video and the lyrics.
Look at them.
It's that love of fighting with each other.
And then this call and response is lovely.
Yeah.
And that call back to metal on the edge of a knife.
Yeah. I think it must have been Kristen Bell and Dax Shepard who I get this line from. But I'm pretty sure it was Kristen Bell. I heard her say in an interview about relationships, and a podcast about relationships, that one of the most important things about a relationship is that you learn how to fight each other.
That's lovely. I like
It's not that you learn to fight each other, but it's you learn how to fight each other, not how to win, but how to fight each other and how to. And I think this track, I come back to it often in my head, especially in moments where I'm like, I can't, not just in relationships, but in friendships, in every form of relationship that I have. Because everybody aggravates you at some point or another, if only because you're hungry. I always think back to, you've got to know how to fight someone. Not and when.
No, and when.
And when, yes. You have to know how to fight somebody in order to maintain that relationship, whatever that relationship or friendship may be. And I think this track is very much speaking to, especially at the end, that idea of they are fighting each other, but they also aren't. And you can storm out and slam the doors and do that. Or as Kristen Bell says, she used to do that until Dax said, "Don't, stay and fight me." Because
I
that's
remember
the
hearing
point.
that. I did hear that.
Because that's the point. Is if you stay and fight, I know that you aren't going to leave and that you are passionate and you are free to be passionate with me. Because that passion that they had in this car at 17, it's not the same passion, but it is still passion that they have right at this very end. Where it's, we are still in this together. We both very much want the same thing. Even if that thing is to end this thing.
So I'm going to wrap this up by saying a couple of years ago, I was traveling through London on the way to or from South Africa, and Gemma and I walked into a theatre booking agency with every intention of booking to see a
Proper
piece
theatre
of
show.
proper theatre. And then we spotted this, and the tickets were available, and it was one of the finest nights I've ever spent in a theatre, and this song was one of the highlights.
So was, and then they kicked a car off the side of the stage into the orchestra pit. It's like, boom.
And then at the end of the play, they did a wardrobe change while the actor was underwater on stage.
The ticket price alone, just for that moment, was astonishing.
It is one of my greatest memories. I only wish we'd had a chance to go and see it again before the show closed. I hope, with the heartbreaking departure of Mr. Steinman, I hope that leads to a revival of that show, because I would dearly love to see it again.
Yeah. I just remember the absolute determination of being able to take you to a proper... I'd spent months trying to convince you to go to a proper theatre show rather than a big showy musical. And you'd finally gone, okay, we'll go to a boring play. And then I
You
saw...
make me sound like a troglodyte.
No, but then I saw...
I see plays every week in Joburg.
I saw the 13-year-old come out in you when you saw Bat Out of Hell, and I did sit there and think, I would be the bad parent if I didn't let you go see Bat Out of Hell.
Thank you, Mummy. Now we really made it weird.
On the internet forever. Hello.
Thank you for watching, if you have. And if you have, why? Honestly.
No, I know why.
At this point,
it's a great
madness. It's a phenomenal song. It's been a lot of fun talking about it.
song. I love it. I'm going to go sing it for the rest of the evening and drive my brother insane.
Me also. Thanks for watching. Keep the faith. Bye-bye. Say bye-bye.
Bye.